Hello, this is Muriel Gerhard, and I'd like to share some of my life stories with you. Um, I wrote a book called Now That I'm Dead. I decided to write this book. It was a book I wrote after my retirement, and it really covers my entire life up to this point at 87. And it consists of about 55 short stories. And I hope these stories will resonate with your experience and your stories. And so here I am connecting with you and sharing my stories. This is called Be a Teacher. That's what I was for 57 years. You can't possibly be that naive. You were entering the field of education. Educators were beyond politics, poker, and prejudice. Who told you so? Or did you just assume that that was the case? Wrong. Making assumptions can be a very disheartening business, to say the least. One would think, there I go again, making assumptions, that since science teachers were in short supply and education was indeed a suitable and respectable profession, one would be welcomed with open arms. As my grandmother used to say, the advice I got, yes, got, was be a teacher. It's a good job for a young lady. So, being very susceptible to grandparental advice, reinforced by parental advice, I set sail to become a teacher in the New York City public schools. What everyone really knew, was that the Board of Education at the famous 110 Livingston Street in Brooklyn, New York, had set very high standards for teachers. It was as if someone was saying, I dare you to meet our standards. So dare us, was the unvoiced reply. We, the candidates, took tests, and more tests over a period of 2 or more years. First, a short answer content test, then a long answer essay test, then a lab test, since I was a science teacher. Since my field was science, lab test, then a speech test, and last but not least, a classroom test, where you actually taught a class of students you had never seen before or knew anything about except their grade level. You were assigned a topic, provided with all of 45 minutes to prepare a lesson, and then thrust into a classroom with 30 odd students and a group of 5 adult observers who were there to evaluate your performance. My topic, lucky me, was the evolution of the horse. I think Eohippus did very well, but as for me, that remained to be seen. Hurdles, hurdles, and more hurdles. Like sheep being led to the slaughter, we, the teacher hopefuls, prepared and studied. We took speech lessons, altering our normal speech patterns in order to pass the speech exam. Did you know, I did not, that cantaloupe is the correct pronunciation for cantaloupe, and Tuesday is the correct pronunciation for Tuesday? I practiced putting the tip of my tongue to the upper palate, saying 10 to 10, 10 to 10. I make certain to control and hide my New York accent by saying long, take a breath, island instead of Long Island. We might write a long dissertation on the importance of good speech in the classroom and its impact on student speech, but this was too much. Someone had to define good and appropriate speech and be real. No one in their right mind, only those of us poor, determined teacher hopefuls, would go through and tolerate such antics. But we did. And for those of us who passed, we would look for announcements of our passing in the Daily Sun, a local newspaper. It also would tell us what school we were assigned to. Somehow I was under the illusion that I would now have the opportunity to teach. I had passed the test. My first year was spent in a temporary position as a biology teacher at Bushwick High School in Brooklyn. This school was famous by the fact that the movie star Mae West, probably before your time, was a student there before my time. I came to school ready to teach, wearing a skirt, a blouse, brown and white saddle shoes. My hair was set in the usual page boy style worn by most young women. I rushed down the hall looking for my lab room. A loud voice shouted at me, "Hey, you! Get in line!" I was startled. Again, the voice was heard, this time much louder. "Hey, you! I told you to get in line!" I was about to protest when I saw the room number. I left the line and entered the room. The room was packed. There were at least 30 male students. Every seat was taken. I was about to introduce myself when the bell rang. I waited a moment before I could say a word. The door swung open. In walked my harasser. He looked at me, and then it registered. He blurted out in a booming voice, "Are you the teacher?" The class was silent. All eyes and ears were on the alert. I smiled. I paused. In the most casual manner I could assume, I replied, "Yes, gentlemen, I am the teacher." And to the young man, for whom all were able to hear, I said, "I hope you don't mind." He attempted to smile and meekly replied, "No, no, no, I don't mind." The class broke into laughter. The next day, I wore a suit, heels, my long hair was pulled back in a bun. The students smiled, but no one said one word. The message was evident. Yes, I was the teacher. I hope you enjoyed my vignette. Thank you. Have a nice evening.